Hi, this is Book Date, and I'm your host, Lisette. I wanted to try something a little different. I'm doing these interviews, um, and they're so much fun. But I'm also finding a lot of books that are really awesome. And I've been asking the authors if they would be okay with me reading first chapters. I'm not a professional narrator. Um, I tend to read it in one take, kind of thing, but I think it gives a good feel for what the book is, and especially for books I love. I want to do this, so I'm going to test this theory. I'm actually going to read the prologue and first chapter of my most recent book, um, called "Chosen Mate," and by Elsie Giroux. That's me, and we'll see how it goes. So, so this is the prologue. Valley of the Kings, Egypt, 1922. Aden. Every breath pulled the wound at my throat. Every heartbeat pushed more blood into the pool I was laying in. I'd known all my life that I would die by violence, but ne'er did I think it would be at the hands of a ghost, or whatever that thing was. All around me, the men lay in similar condition. The only one the wraith hadn't torn the throat out of was the captain. With no way out, though, it was just a matter of time. I was no good to him now. Even trying to raise my hand only pushed the blood out of my body faster. There was nothing I could do now but close my eyes and wait for the end to take me. I might hope that I'd see my ma and sisters, but I knew they'd be in heaven, and I did not think I was headed there. I'd killed men in war, in anger, never without cause or provocation, but ne'er did I walk away from a fight either. It I wasn't the type to turn the other cheek. I closed my eyes with a prayer that the captain would somehow get free and would see us all remembered. None knew where we were or how to find us. This tomb would be our final resting place, as well as the slave girls. Maybe that was fitting. We were here to take what had been gifted to her. Maybe it was well and good that we die for our folly. My heart was laboring to pump my blood, even though there was less and less of it. I could see the whole thing from outside myself now, hovering over my body, watching my life drain away. A noise, like a sigh, barely noticeable with the moans of my compatriots, made me, the floating ethereal me, turn my head. A woman was staring down at my body, as if she was mourning me. But this woman might have been a fae from the fairy tales my ma told us as bairns. Nary a pock marked the perfection of her cheek, so soft I could think of little but laying my own scarred skin against hers. Her eyes were mesmerizing. I hadn't seen blue, that color of sky, since I left Scotland. I could imagine staring into those eyes for the rest of my days. Her eyes were rimmed with black like the paintings on the tomb walls, or like a picked warrior of old, making the blue look all that brighter. But the strangest thing about her was her hair. She must be a trickster fae come to toy with me before tossing me into hell. Her hair was shades of color I'd never seen on a woman, even in all the foreign countries I'd been to. Like a rainbow, it shimmered with a heavenly light. If I believed I was going to heaven, I would guess she was an angel sent to shepherd me there. But since I wasn't, she had to be an instrument of torture. That had to be the right of it. The sermons always said the devil put on his most pleasing face. But then she smiled at me. With that smile, I no longer cared where I was bound for, as long as she would be there too. I felt a tug, a physical pull back into my body. If I could have screamed, I would have. The thought of leaving her worse to me than the thought of dying. The spectral me reached for her. To my surprise, she reached back. She was already starting to fade away, but I could feel her hand in mine. You will find me, Aden. The words more thought than sound. I could hear. She knew me? How? This had to be devilry of some kind. I wasn't sure I cared. By the time she finished, she had disappeared and I was back in my useless body. My whole being seemed to quake at her loss. But then I realized I was breathing again, and where the wraith had torn out my throat had healed somehow. With that realization, the woman from a moment ago slipped from my thoughts. Chapter 1. Aiden. I swung my leg over the motorcycle, Leia said they were called now. Fuck that. I was a Scot and I'd call them motorbikes if I damn well wanted to. Just not in earshot of the pretty little alpha female. I didn't like much about this modern world. Okay, near endless hot water to bathe in and near instant hot food from the micro whatever were nice, but what the years had done for motorbikes was a thing of beauty. This one was a hell of a lot sturdier than the flimsy things I had when I was young, and fast as hell. Paved highways were another good thing. The ride from Boston to Providence didn't take as long as I would have liked, but my teeth hadn't rattled out of my head like they would have on cobblestones or dirt roads. I turned and looked up at the house of the man who'd hired Anubis security to babysit his fully grown daughter. I didn't understand what all the fuss was about. Lock her in her room with no food for a day and she'd come around to his way of thinking. But it wasn't my money, and from the looks of the fine house in front of me, money wasn't in short supply. I dropped the helmet, another thing Leia had insisted on, to the seat of the bike and walked to the door. A man in livery opened it when I was within 2 steps. Some things hadn't changed, only now I was walking in the front door, when my family would have been lucky to get one of the posh jobs in a house like this back in the day. I shut down the thoughts of my family. There wasn't anyone left there now. My pack was my family. You must be Mr. McLaren. If you follow me, sir. Mr. Caruso is in the library. My boots thudded on the marble floors. All the gold and finery made me feel as out of place as a pig would here. I fought the urge to look back to see if I was tracking muddy boot prints across the fine floors. Aiden, are you all right? Yes, Mother Hen. Don't you have a mate to make happy? She was until she felt your unease. We need this job to go well. Great. Both alphas. You mentioned, Captain, about 30 or 40 times. And I thought we were going to be using those cell phones you made us learn to use back to talk to each other. Sorry, I won't bother you again, but Aiden, I don't know why, but I know you are the right man for this job. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Your Majesty. I know you think you're being snide, but I still like that. Go take care of your husband. I slid the bit of shielding the pack could manage into place, so I didn't feel like I was being eavesdropped on. Having that wolf Wi-Fi, as Leia called it, wasn't a problem before the captain had found her and they had completed their mate bonding. Now it was like living with 2 people who couldn't keep their hands off each other and gushed happiness everywhere. I was glad to see the captain happy, but the daily dose of jealousy it brought out in me I could do without. The butler opened the 12-foot-high door that made even me look small. The library was more of a study, with dark paneling and a large conference table. In the middle, to one end of it, was a desk with chairs. Bookshelves covered the shorter ends of the room, and a bank of ornate windows stood across from the door. I had just stepped through. It was all tastefully done by someone who knew enough about the signifiers of old money to get it right for this mafioso. Though I assumed this wasn't the kind of job you ever wanted to mess up. Probably a good reminder to myself. The man in front of me stood roughly 5'10" in a very expensive suit, his back to me leaning over his desk. I recognized this as the power play it was, so I did not need to hurry. He wanted me to know he could make me wait. In fact, if I were to clear my throat or otherwise try to get his attention, this little game of his would last twice as long. I didn't have anywhere to be. I unzipped my leather jacket, also bought at my female alpha's request, though this one I liked more. At the sound of the zipper, Mr. Caruso spun like he'd seen a ghost. So, happy to play power games when he knew the odds were stacked in his favor, but also had enough enemies that he never relaxed his guard. He recovered his composure the minute he assessed I wasn't a threat. It didn't hurt that I'd kept my hands visible as soon as they were free of the zipper. If this was the father, I could only imagine what the daughter was like. I knew enough spoiled little rich girls before the trip to Egypt to know the type well. Hell, it was one of them that drove me to seek my fortune in the sand, bring back something of value and a name for myself to impress her. Instead, I ended up with a half-life and nothing more. I stood there praising the man, and he me. He must have decided I'd suit his needs because he stepped forward with his hand out. Arno Caruso, you must be one of Tony's finds. Aidan McLaren, I work for Anubis Security. I'm sure you're wondering why a man such as myself needs a security firm to keep my daughter under control. I was told there was a threat to her safety and that she was uncooperative with previous attempts. That's putting it mildly. If I had known all those gymnastics classes were going to come back to bite me in the ass, I wouldn't have spent the money. She's strong and quick. Her father might not have appreciated what she did, but part of him was oddly proud of her being such trouble. She's managed to escape through every means possible. I heard the door open behind me and watched as warring emotions played over the man's face. From the sounds behind me, I guessed one female, two males trailing her. She was the one wearing the boots similar to mine. Daddy, I want them gone. Arno waved off the bodyguards. Thank you, Daddy. There wasn't a shred of gratitude in her voice. I had no intention of turning around until I was asked to. This mafia princess was more than used to people bowing and scraping to win her approval, but she hadn't met me yet. So that's the prologue and first chapter of Chosen Mate. It is available in Kindle Unlimited, and there will be a link in the description. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.